Now let's talk about Harry and Meghan. Meghan Markle's plans to produce a film adaptation of Carly Fortune's hit romance novel, Meet Me at the Lake. Well, that's now on ice after Netflix decided not to renew its $100 million.
So the gossip is that Meghan's Netflix deal was already shaky after her show flopped, and now a leaked behind-the-scenes video showing her rude and unpolished might totally kill it.
This is a big blow for Meghan. This was a serious project.
Yeah, a Hollywood insider says we're 2 years into Netflix and Meghan securing the rights to make this movie, and there's no director, no casting calls, no cast. The writer's strike has come and gone. There's just simply no.
The scary part is this clip could break the last bit of her Netflix deal, since it is raw behind-the-scenes stuff, not edited or polished, just real unfiltered moments that were never meant to be seen but somehow leaked out to people outside her team.
And while Meet Me at the Lake seems to be DOA, Meghan's camp is leaking stories that she's not done yet fighting to stay on with Netflix. In a desperate bid, they claim she is still in the midst of negotiations. So with love, Meghan, season 52, here we come.
What the leak showed was a totally different Meghan, not the sweet, calm image she shows in interviews, but a sharp, bossy side cutting off producers, shutting down ideas, and even rolling her eyes, calling them amateurs like she was running the whole set and refusing to share control.
This is something that you and I discuss all the time. We're like, oh, the royals have something important coming up. Here comes Harry and Meghan to hijack the headlines. It's believed that although he won't go so far as to let Prince William manage his schedule, he is.
Normally, people might excuse this as creative clashes, but for Meghan, it was worse because Netflix had already been hearing the same complaints since the start of her deal, and this video just backed it all up. And the most shocking part, insiders said, came during a filming break.
If you watch it again, you'll never see it the same way. And I felt the same way about this, where the music was doing all the heavy lifting.
Who sings sugar, sugar?
Oh yeah, Lemon Spoonful or something?
And she was like, cue the lemon head, whoever it was. She's like, cue the platters. I can't remember, forgive me. But then in comes the music while she's...
Meghan was caught on a live mic saying, this is not their vision, it's mine. They just have to follow, which made her look controlling, not a team player. And with her Netflix show already flopping, the timing could not be worse.
Lifting the sugar. Your point about Mindy being like, no, but the person I hire does. Now, okay. Even I do not hire anybody to do my kids' birthdays, and I have very few domestic bones in my body. The most I will hire is somebody to blow up like a bouncy castle or whatever.
It's a professional thing. You need someone to do that.
I don't know how to.
Netflix had already delayed renewal talks after her show lost viewers fast, and now with the leaked video making her look bad, insiders say the question is no longer if they will end her deal, but how soon they can do it without legal trouble.
And Doug's not handy. Handsy, but not handy. Anyway, so you made this point in one of your articles on the Daily Mail, and I was like, that's exactly it. That's the moment you know who this show is for. Mm-hmm. Because I was watching the whole thing like, who is this for? Mm-hmm. Who is this appealing? And you said it's for the 1%.
One executive said this deal was already hanging by a thread, and this video might be the final plug pull moment. Crew members who worked on the show also said the set atmosphere was tense and draining. Some blamed the stress of deadlines, but others quietly suggested that Meghan's perfectionism often turned into inflexibility. And now this leaked footage shows her frustration, curt rejections, and clear annoyance whenever things did not match her vision, making it worse. Netflix is very serious about protecting its public image.
The 1% who was like, yes, my person does all of this, or I was talking about this with my hairstylist, Sarah, and a friend of hers who came over while I was watching some of this, and they were both saying, I'm like, maybe the women in this town will produce a birthday party like that, or
company cares about keeping good ties with stars, but it also protects its own image strongly, and having a show led by someone caught on video treating people badly is not a risk Netflix may want, especially when the money is not worth the trouble, reports say. Meghan's team is now in full crisis mode, trying to track down the leak and see if legal steps can stop it, but insiders doubt they can, because once top bosses see such footage, the damage is basically done, and in today's world, leaks spread too fast to control, making the fallout harder every hour. Experts also note this is not Meghan's first time facing claims of being tough on staff, as similar stories came out back in the UK, and while she denied them, this video gives those rumors new weight. As one Hollywood producer said, seeing is believing.
She's big into these crudité boards. veggie.
Oh, yeah.
And or fruit. And this was one of the most, every mother out there will understand. She wants us to put together a fruit crudité board for our children.
When video proof comes out, it is no longer just talk. It is right there for everyone to see. And the most shocking part is how Netflix is reacting, because even though they have stayed silent on the outside, insiders say talks of ending her deal sped up fast after the footage surfaced, and that is huge, considering the company once poured a 9-figure deal into the Sussex brand. One insider said this is not the Meghan they thought. They were signing, and the hours after bosses watched the clip were called the point of no return. The response was quick, firm, and for Meghan, very alarming, because within minutes, top leaders held an emergency meeting to weigh the damage.
This big thing, you can just do it like a single plate style. That alone, with all I just said, with cutting and buying and cleaning and chopping, would be probably an hour. My morning is like, here is a piece of toast. I am Martha Stewart. You're welcome.
The fallout was way bigger than just the contract, because Netflix had to think about how their brand would look if they kept standing by Meghan. And according to people who know what went on in that private meeting, the vibe was completely unsympathetic almost. Like the patience had finally snapped, since the leaked video did not just show a few bad moments, but actually backed up months of crew complaints, making it crystal clear this was not some random mood swing, but a repeating habit now laid bare on camera. And one senior executive summed it all up in one line, saying, "We have been hearing about this behavior for months, and now we finally see it with our own eyes." And that comment set the tone, because from there, the room shifted straight into damage control mode, with the main question being not if the deal should end, but how fast it could be wrapped up without breaking any legal terms, and how they could distance the company image from Meghan before the situation caused even more harm.
And sticky little kids do not keep things orderly. As a matter of course, they do not. This was my other favorite thing. Speaking of, how much free time does she have? Because she has the kind of free time that would make me enter intensive therapy.
I didn't know where that was going.
She talked.
The executives sat in that tense room weighing every option, because this was no small matter. They were dealing with a contract worth millions and the possibility of major fallout if they made the wrong move. And the first question everyone wanted answered was whether ending things early would cost them financially, or if they could lean on the angle of reputational risk as a solid defense. And that is why within minutes, legal and finance were dragged into the mix, told to prepare every single exit route on paper so the higher-ups could move fast. And insiders said the pace of this internal scramble was unlike anything they had witnessed before. In fact, it was being compared to a corporate emergency rather than a celebrity dispute, because Netflix wanted to protect its image at all costs. And the truth is, the timing could not have been worse for Meghan, because her big flagship Netflix show, which had been hyped up endlessly, had already turned into a disappointment, with executives admitting privately that it failed to hit the global reach they were hoping for. The internal numbers confirmed what outside critics were saying. Viewership dropped sharply after the very first episode, which meant people tuned in out of curiosity but didn't stick around. And on top of that, the data showed hardly any natural buzz building around the series, with social media engagement at shockingly low levels, proving the show was not making cultural waves. And the only people keeping conversation alive were Meghan's most loyal fans, who already supported her before the deal. So instead of Netflix getting a game-changing partnership, they found themselves with an underperforming series, a partner facing credibility issues, and now a leaked video scandal threatening to drag their brand into more drama than it was worth.
Fresh basil. I always do those little swirls. I don't know why. In school, I got an A- in penmanship class. But you know what? I was like, I'll take the minus for a little bit of character.
Oh, good God. Keep going.
She got an A- in penmanship.
For a platform like Netflix that survives on shows keeping people subscribed, the numbers from Meghan's project were simply not good enough, and everyone knew it. And then came the leaked footage, which insiders said instantly turned a weak situation into a crisis, because now it was not just about a show that underperformed, but about a star who was starting to look like a brand risk. And one executive summed it up harshly, saying, "It is one thing to back a flop, but it is another thing entirely to back a flop that makes us look bad bad too. And once that line was said, the tone in the room shifted. Executives began breaking down the footage frame by frame, pointing out how Meghan repeatedly cut off producers mid-sentence, how she dismissed suggestions without a thought, and how her body language screamed frustration and superiority. It was not just an unflattering edit, it was proof that lined up with months of whispers about her behavior, and in a business where image and relationships are everything, this kind of evidence hit harder than ratings ever could.
So when you have online paper, you can use a template that can at least keep your lines straight, no matter how straight you believe that you write. It's always helpful to have a template. Use a soft pencil, because you're going to erase those lines, obviously, after you've written everything in. First things first, heirloom tomato cube.
Netflix executives sat through the leaked clips with growing unease, watching Meghan mock creative ideas, dismiss the team, and shrug off collaboration like it was beneath her. They paused at the break time scene where her live mic picked up the line, "This isn't their vision, it's mine, and they just have to follow." And they replayed the eye roll where she muttered about amateurs on my set. The room was tense because these were not just embarrassing moments, they were potentially contractual violations. Lawyers in the room pointed out that conduct undermining. Professional standards can under certain agreements count as valid grounds for termination, and from that point, the legal team dove straight into her contract line by line, looking for the cleanest exit strategy they could find. Inside her team room, things were anything but. Calm phones were buzzing, advisors were whispering arguments, overlapping voices, and tension so thick you could almost feel it. Everyone knew this leak was not just another small fire to put out. This was a blaze that could burn down the entire Netflix partnership, yet Meghan stayed stubborn. She told them she did not want carefully crafted press statements or generic explanations sent out to the world. She believed her charm and her ability to control a conversation face-to-face could win back the executives. She insisted that she could walk into that Netflix meeting room and convince them that the footage was just a product of stress and pressure, not her true character. Her team, on the other hand, were divided. Some pushed her to at least put out a short preemptive message, acknowledging the leak and spinning it before it gained traction. Others begged her to consider an apology tour of sorts, reaching out privately to executives and crew members to repair the personal damage, but Meghan waved it all away, claiming that admitting fault would only confirm the worst narrative. She was sure that once Netflix leaders heard from her directly, she could flip the script. The problem was, those executives had already seen the raw clips with their own eyes. They had watched her roll her eyes, dismiss producers, and belittle creative input. And no amount of clever words could erase the fact that the evidence was on screen. Some insiders even suggested that Meghan's refusal to release a statement showed denial rather than strength, making her appear even more difficult to work with to Netflix by now. The gap between Meghan's confidence and her team's quiet panic was only growing larger the sense. Among her advisors was that she was gambling everything on one last performance in a boardroom while the company had already decided that the show was over.